Hi guys, STO back with another video for you, and I've got a tournament recap and review for you today. This one's a little bit late, so apologies if people have been waiting for it, but I wanted to do a review on the Scottish Takeover 5, which is a tournament that I went to just under a month ago, but an amazing event. Really want to talk through it because it's a little hidden gem and one that I'd heavily recommend that you check out if you get a chance. Okay, so before I get started, if you do want to follow me, some of the best places to follow me are over on Instagram, where I post loads and loads of work in progress pictures, tournament stuff, you name it, I post it on there. I'm also a big part of the Twisted Dice team, so if you haven't already, do sub to Twisted Dice on YouTube. You can also catch us on all of the social media platforms, including a weekly show every Wednesday at 9:30. We go on live on Twitch and talk about all things Wargaming related from that week. And if you want to support me personally further, you can back me on Patreon, where I have an exclusive Ace Face Patreon channel where you can get some Ace Face goodies, and that would also give you access to the Twisted Dice Discord server as well, so you can chat both to me and to Tyranid based players, as well as kind of all other things Ace Face related. Or if you want to, from the same channel, you can go through and speak to people around Twisted Dice stuff. Or if you'd like to back the Twisted Dice channel, we also have a Patreon there. So to be honest with you, all funds pretty much go to the same place, which is support us do better content, but you can go through whatever channel suits you better. But really appreciate you watching this. If you do like it, please do hit the like button, and subscribe helps me tons. So anyway, that's enough kind of self-promotion, and let's jump on to this video. So the Scottish Takeover takes place in Scotland, in kind of a town which is kind of in between Inverness and Aberdeen. I get this wrong, Elgin I think is the town. A very little picturesque town, very beautiful, and generally just the whole kind of countryside and the area that the tournament's held in is beautiful, really nice. If you want to kind of go and visit somewhere very different and check out a kind of different kind of vibe, I'd heavily recommend it. So it's in like a kind of workman's club, but it's a really kind of nice kind of venue, because you've got a bar there, but they also provide loads of free drinks, so you can get yourself like free refreshments, and which is great. You can just pick them up as you're going along, which is just an awesome thing to have in a tournament. It's nice and airy, nice lot of space. The food is catered for on both the Saturday and the Sunday, and it's great food as well. So you get like an absolute awesome lunch, and you also get a wicked dinner as well. It's a very chilled out atmosphere, so as much as there's some really kind of competitive players that play there, and there's some really strong lists, the general vibe is very relaxed, very chilled out, which is why I always love it, because it's a long way for me to go, but whenever I go it's like a real holiday, so I thoroughly enjoy it. So if you're something, you want to try something different, just want to travel a bit and go to a tournament somewhere completely out of the ordinary, I'd heavily recommend it. And you can get tickets for their next event, which is the Scottish Takeover 6. I believe tickets are already on sale now, so you can go and check it out on Facebook, and you can grab yourself a ticket, and I heavily recommend it. They're also running a doubles event, so you can play in that as well. So absolutely awesome. So for me, I took a quite unorthodox orc list. They were playing a homebrew style mission pack, really good actually. I'm quite a critic of sort of homebrew events packs. I tend to prefer for TOs to stick to the ITC pack, or if you want to go for the full ETC pack, if that's the way you kind of you lean to. But at least those packs give you a kind of consistency that you know what to expect. they went for pretty much a halfway house that I was a little bit on the fence going into the tournament, but actually what I would say is I believe it to be massively superior to the ETC rule pack. It takes a lot of the randomness away. So basically it's the same thing. You have an Eternal War mission and you have a Maelstrom War mission and you have your tertiaries, but the Maelstrom part is all self-selected, so you have pretty much a list of all the Maelstrom missions. You can select them as you go each turn, so you're kind of at the beginning of your turn, you're picking what missions that you want to try and achieve. You can only achieve them once, and there's a bit of a gambit around you can't draw any more until you've completed the ones that you've got. So you've got to kind of been working out what you're going to do at the end of that turn. Are you going to complete it? Are you not? You know, and looking at the amount of points that they will give you, and then you can also kind of double jeopardy by kind of, you know, spending a CP to get a third mission as well. So actually really clever format, which very much encouraged you to build fairly take all comers, fairly balanced lists, because you had that control of that Maelstrom, so you wanted the opportunity to do as many of those missions as you could. So taking a very kind of mono style and tactic list would mean that you were very restricted in what you could score on that. So that was really kind of important. So I didn't really think about it going into the tournament, but I was quite fortunate that I did want to bring something that was fun. I've been playing my orcs now for, or should I say the studio orcs at Twisted Dice, for now the best part of 6 months. I've been absolutely loving them. Took them to LVO, took them to the GT finals, took them to the GT heats, as well as a lot of other tournaments as well, and they've been performing incredibly well. I've only lost kind of less than a handful of games in probably about 6 or 7 tournaments, so they've been absolutely, you know, kicking lumps out of everybody. So they've been so much fun, but I wanted to change it up. I wanted to not take kind of the same list I took to LVO. I wanted to kind of mix it up, take something a bit different. So I went for 3 battalions. It's always the way you want to go generally with orcs, because you want to mass out those CPs because they're so CP hungry. I went for 1 battalion of Evil Sons, excuse me, 1 battalion of Bad Moons and 1 battalion of Death Skulls. Let me just have a drink. Okay, and in those detachments, so the Evil Sons, I had 2 units of boys and a unit of Gretchen. I then had my War Boss, custom force field guy, and that was pretty much that one. You know, the boys I just think are really, really good. You kind of want them in your list. It's very hard not to have some sort of amount of boys. I think 60 is the minimum. Personally, I know you can take less than that, but I think 60. If you take less than 60, you kind of struggle a little bit, just because you need those bodies, and they are just a solid unit. Then in the Bad Moons detachment, I had a couple of weird boys, and I had 3 units of Gretchen, 3 units of 10, and then I had 15 looters. Only 15. This is one of the big things I changed up, and I didn't really regret it. I think they were great in a 15, and I don't think I necessarily needed more. Then I had 2 big units of mech guns, which consisted of predominantly the smasher guns and 2 tractor cannons. Just I quite like them. I just thought they're quite good against, you know, trying to deal with that flyer, and they put like this air of kind of, you know, risk and that air of fear in flyers. So I kind of wanted to go for that. So I went for those. Then in my 3rd detachment, I went for the Dreadwire detachment. I went for 2 shock attack guns. So I went for the Relic shock attack gun and then a standard one. Just love it so much, just so fun, and even the standard one just does work. I think they're great units, and in Death Skulls they're particularly good because you can re-roll that hit, that wound and that damage roll, so it makes them even more effective. And I make the Relic one my Warlord because I like taking the Opportunist to give me re-roll 1s against vehicles, but also gives me that added threat of being able to target characters within 18. So really like that. I also had another big mech with a custom force field to make my 3 HQs. Then I had 3 units of Gretchens, and then the list was finished off by a big old Gorkanaut, Gary the Gorkanaut, who was solid all weekend. Love that guy, super fun. Just can't say enough good things. Definitely more people should try out taking a Gorkanaut. I think one really complements a hell of a lot of lists. So that was my list. My ambitions for the event was I just wanted to do as well as I could. I wanted to have loads of fun, and that was kind of what I would do. I wasn't interested in scoring big. I didn't want to necessarily bump into all the heavy hitters straight away. I was quite happy to have some fun games, you know, give away a few points, have some fun, and then kind of see where that brought me day 2. So my first game was a guy called Michael, absolute top lad. He was a bit frustrated in the fact that his good buddy plays Orcs as well, so he's fed up of playing Orcs, and then he had to play me in the first round. He had a real kind of mixed Necron list, so it was kind of bits and pieces of everything. It's Mefrit Dynasty, but he had Wraiths, he had Destroyers. He had a really good kind of balanced list with lots of threats, pretty scary stuff. But unfortunately Necrons do suffer from the fact that they are still probably too expensive, and they just don't really have the bodies to be able to deal with an army like Orcs. So it was an uphill battle for him. He got unlucky with a couple of things as well, struggled with a couple of charge rolls that he really needed to pull off. His saves weren't particularly good, and ended up kind of coming a bit of a cropper. So a fun game, great first game to the tournament. He was an absolute gentleman, took it like an absolute boss, which then brought me into game 2. And my game 2 was against Jonathan. And Jonathan was playing Tau. So Tau, like obviously a force I know pretty well, and again this was like an absolute top game. I love this game. This was one of the closest games I've ever played. It was just touch and go, so tactical. Jonathan had, you know, pretty standard stuff. He had a couple of Riptides, he had a block of broadsides, he had some of the Forge World hazard suits, some little kind of chaffy units. He had some stealth suits to kind of to come out and to try and hold space. It was a really well balanced, really well selected list, and he piloted it like a champion, like really good. Put me on the back foot. I could not do any damage to his broadsides, which was my main target, because those things shoot out so many shots. I needed to try and get rid of them before my boys were able to really do any damage. So I needed to try and clear them off. I put so many shots into these broadsides that every time they were looking them out into the drones were then passing their feel no pains. It was grim, absolute grim. And if they were going through and the broadsides were saving it, it was just tough. So it was a real slog. We fought it hammer and tong all the way, like chipping bits out of each other, and I just managed to nick it in the last turn. So in the last turn I managed to jump my looters, and then managed to kind of charge in, take an objective, just to give me enough points to win it in the last turn. But literally it was so close. It was absolutely amazing game. Like, as I said, literally one of the best games I've ever played. So I was chuffed to bits to have had an opportunity to play Jonathan. He was a total gentleman. It was really heated, but like in a really good spirit, which is kind of what you can't ask for more than that. So yeah, so great result. That brought me into my game number 3. So my game number 3 was I was playing Simon, and it's kind of story of the show. Simon, another top bloke, really cool guy. He'd only just got back into playing 40k, either that or he'd kind of just started playing 40k, I believe. Definitely new to kind of this list. His list was so scary, it was ridiculous, and I was so caught on the back foot. So he was playing one of the new Astra Militarum formations. He had a Vulture, and then he had 3 Valkyries, and the Valkyries all had the drop dudes in, so that were kind of commando guys. He had Yarick, and then he had a vulture as well, so he had like 4 flyers, loads of guys to jump down. He had, it was just absolutely, and the thing is that on paper I'm just thinking this is a lot of little guys, some flyers, he's only got one of the vultures, I'm going to be alright here. So he gets first turn, he flies all these flyers right up in my face, jumps out everybody, because they've got kind of a special rule that allows you to do that, and they're amazing when they jump out as well. So it all jumped out, Yarrick's there, Yarrick's giving them re-rolls, like the amount of shots, all like hitting on 2s, wounding on 2s or 3s, like he just absolutely took a hammer to my face first turn, and I tried, because I kind of knew it was coming to a degree, so I reserved kind of as much as I possibly could really, spent a lot of CPs to keep everything back. I countered, he did fail to kill all of my boys, so I did do the green tide, brought them back, countered a couple of units, started to take a bit of ground, held a couple of objectives. His then next turn he wasn't as nasty because they get their buffs when they jump out, they lose it a little bit otherwise. He probably made a few kind of targeting errors maybe in that second turn, he probably could have gone after a few things which he probably shouldn't have done. And I managed to kind of hang in there long enough for the cavalry to arrive. Then the looters dropped in, Gary the Gorkanaut dropped in, and then I was able to kind of like multi-charge kind of everything. I killed at least 2 of the flyers, maybe even 3 of the flyers from the looters and the remainder of the mech guns. So I hit back so hard after that. Then it was kind of like the tide just turned on its head, and I kind of then just like walked through him. Unfortunately, on this one, Simon had to kind of get off early on the Saturday night. He had family commitments. We've all been there, so he called it early. But yeah, it wasn't gonna go well for him at that point. But I have never been so frightened by Imperial Guard. Like literally, they absolutely ripped me to pieces in that first turn. So good experience there. So end of day 1, I finished on 3 wins, no losses. Really happy with that. Kind of put me bottom of the pack of the winning record, but in with a chance going into day 2. And day 2 I was playing a good old friend. I was playing Vic, so I was playing one of the hosts of the event, and Vic is amazing. She's a great Tyranid player. I've played Vic once before, and we had a great game there. That was Tyranid on Tyranid. And this time she was pulling no punches. She brought an incredibly powerful army, like 80 Gene Stealers, loads of characters, Swarm Lord, Patriarch was in there from Gene Stealer Cult. It was a good list. Obviously, knowing Tyranids pretty well, I kind of knew what I needed to do to try and mitigate the damage that was coming in. It was Dawn of War as well, so it was going to be hard going. She ran at me as she should, and she managed to kill pretty much, well, 3/4 of my Gretchen in the first turn. She piled into a few things, not enough to kind of really stop me. I was able then to hit back, pull off kind of a couple of units of Gene Stealers, and slowly but surely I started to kind of build momentum. But what Vic did amazingly well was she put so many points on the board the first couple of turns. Even though I was starting to smash face by kind of turn 3, I needed to kind of swing these points back in quickly, otherwise I was going to lose on points. So thankfully again, I just built enough momentum to start getting the big points and to pull it back for the win. So, but it was such a fun game, like an amazing experience again. Vic's just such a good sport. I've always got time to play her. It was just incredible. So, great game. And that meant I was 4 wins going into the final, and I was going to play Stefan. So Stefan is the current champion at the time, and was bringing a fairly similar list than what he did last time actually. So, and that's always one of my biggest recommendations for anybody that's like learning the game, anyone that's kind of, you know, has ambitions to be a competitive player. Don't do what I do and what a lot of people do, which is flip between armies. Pick an army and then play that army, play that list, over and over again. If you don't win everything, don't worry about it. Just keep playing it, because there is no substitute from experience of playing an army over and over again. So, we were playing. So what did Stefan have on his list? So he had a primary detachment, which was his Grey Knights. Yep, Grey Knights, that's it. He had 3 strike squads. He had 3 Dread Masters, which are pretty scary for me because they have a 2-up save. It's not easy to deal with when you've got orcs. They don't like 2-up saves, but I do have a lot of nasty shooting in my list as well, so I wasn't as worried as most orc players would be. He then had 3 Custodes shield bike captains on Dawn Eagle jet bikes. Those guys, again, really difficult for orcs to deal with. I was probably more scared of them because of the amount of DACA they put out as well. And then he had an Astra Militarum force, which was basically a kind of, you know, the Loyal 32, more or less. A few more mortars in there, but that's the kind of idea. So we played on this board, and hopefully you'll see all the pictures that would have been coming up, so you'll be able to see kind of what the deployments were like. But the big advantage that Stefan had was some of my things do really need line of sight, and I wanted to try and shoot at him. Assault in this game wouldn't necessarily be king for me because he had so many hard hitting stuff for the 2-up save. That doesn't suit my combat element of my force. What I need to be able to do is just shoot this stuff, and then I can make short work of it. But this board was full of terrain, like really packed solid with terrain, you know, which is great, and I would much rather that than the other way. But it was heavy terrain, and what Stefan had the massive advantage of, and hats off to him, he'd been smashing people since day one and since game one, so he'd spent a lot of time on the top table, so he'd got pretty used to this board. He knew where the hiding points were, he knew where he wanted to be, and he played the ball perfectly. So he stopped me from shooting really anything first turn. He got first turn, he done some aggressive moves to make sure that he could do some damage early, score a lot of points, apply a lot of pressure, kind of push me into my deployment zone but not give me easy shots. He did it really effectively, really well. I hit back, I tried to keep on the scoreboard, which I did. It kind of backwards and forwards quite a lot, but slowly but surely he was building momentum because I wasn't able to kill his big stuff, and he was slowly but surely taking lumps out of mine. Like my boys were starting to go down, and I was just starting to lose that momentum myself, and he was outscoring me. So yeah, a really good game. There was a couple of clutch points where I made a load of charges. If I'd done a little bit better in combat with my Gorkanaut, I could have turned the tides a little bit. There are a couple of points where I did manage to get line of sight, and he pulled off some amazing saves. There was just a few little clutch points where it was kind of starting to turn a little bit in my favour, but each time I kind of got a glimmer. Either Stefan outplayed me to manage to pull it back in, or he got very fortunate on his dice. But either way, it was kind of like I was getting close and then I was getting pulled away again. So in the end, it was a good win for Stefan. He did take me out in the final, but hats off to him. He's a really good player. Got a lot of time for the guy. And again, the game, like this top table game, it couldn't have been any more chilled out, which is always what I like. I like a fierce competitive game, but it should always be played at the right spirit in my mind, and that was the most important thing for me. Is I had a great 2 days of 40k, and I didn't really care the result from the last game. I wanted to make sure that it was a fun game, and I knew playing Stefan I'd get that game, and that's exactly what it was. It was a good fun game. We had a laugh, no tension, proper chilled out. And a great tactical game. Very cat and mouse. So congratulations to Stefan, who won it. He did very well to take that title and to retain it for the second year. So I'll definitely be trying to come back and see whether I can get one step closer. But impressive result. Because losing in the final game and not scoring many points going into it knocked me down the pegging, and I think I finished 5th. 5th or 6th, but that didn't really matter. The main thing was 4-1. I was very happy with that. So yeah, great. And on top of that, I came away with some nice Brucey bonuses. So I came away with first and foremost, I won Best Painted HQ. That was for my shock attack gun. Really pleased with him. So I was chuffed to get that. That was great. And I also, probably more importantly than anything else, I won favourite sporting player, or best sporting player, which I was like touched. I was so over the moon with that, because you know, I just, you know, all I want to do really is have fun and play 40k, and just you know, I want to play competitive. I want to play with filthy lists. I want to play cutthroat games. But I always want my opponent to have the most enjoyable time he can, and or he or she, and I want to make sure that every game is played within the spirit that it should be. And to get kind of recognised for that is probably the biggest achievement I could ever ask for, because that proves that I'm doing something right. And you know, to be able to win and do well and still, you know, get recognised for having fun games and people enjoy the experience, you can't get any better than that. And I only just missed out on it at the GT finals as well. Just got pipped at the post for that one, so that's kind of 2 tournaments in a row where that's really kind of shone through as something I'm doing right. So if I can, even if I play rubbish for the rest of the season, if I can maintain that, I'll be happy with that. I would really like to continue to be known as somebody that people enjoy playing. So yeah, so chuffed to bits with that. Really happy. Amazing events. So if you haven't already, please do check it out, and hopefully I will see you at the next event. But well done everybody that turned up. Congratulations to the winners of all the prizes. And yeah, that's it for me today, guys. Though pretty short video, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.